Do you know what makes us family? Some people consider themselves family when they're related by blood. Others consider themselves family when they're related by marriage. Close friends become family. Sometimes some friendships are so close that you feel a very unique, a very special bond that transcends mere friendship. And they feel like members of one's family. Don't you all have friends like that? So what is it that makes a community a family? I want you to think about this for a second. How come, of all people, Guru Mahan said, because he could have easily rejected my request, and I don't typically tend to have the liberty of asking him more than 3 times. But I didn't have to ask him even twice. I asked him once. And he looked up, said, okay. The powers that be, so he always says, the universe guides me. The Ram always says that. The universe guides him. So the powers that be, the universe, something out there convinced him that his presence here is warranted. And I don't think it's just because this is the 100th sermon. I don't think it's that. I think it's what has become within you. In other words, what you have become. That was the calling. I don't think it's the 100th sermon. Because to him, 100 is just a number. Do you recall a couple of sermons ago, I asked you what is so special about 100? We tend to count in tens, don't we? That's the way we learn to count. When you first learn counting numerals, counting to 10 seems like a big achievement. That's why you ask someone, can you count to that? I can count to 8. That's no big deal. But once they say I can count to 10, it feels like they have achieved some kind of a special milestone. That is because in our world, we tend to count things in tens. So 10 lots of 10 is 100, but that's a very conventional reality. I don't think that is something that excites Guru Nanak. So it's not the fact that this is the 100th sermon. That much I can guarantee. But there was a higher calling. There was something here, something that convinced him that his arrival, his visit is now due. Just like once every few eons, a bodhisattva feels it's time to come into this world. Once in a while, God decides it's time to send his only son to save mankind. In the same manner, ladies and gentlemen, when the opportunity is right, when the environment is ready, then things happen. Have you all heard the saying that when the student is ready, what is it? The teacher appears. So then, what is the converse of that? If the teacher has appeared, let's work it backwards. The students are ready. Well, there you go then. So then tell me, how come Guru Nanak decided to visit us today? How come the teacher decided to visit us today? What was the reason? The students were ready. So who deserves credit for his visit today? The students, not the best student. Students with an S at the end. This is not just something I share with you today because it seems like the right opportunity to do so. Whenever I get an opportunity to talk to our monks, our anagarikas and anagarikas at the monastery, it is something I always remind them. You can ask our monks, they will give me a not in agreement. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking to them and I said, my dear fellow monks, my brothers and sisters, let us not rest on our laurels and think that Guru Hamdro is with us forever and that he is someone that belongs to us. It is a privilege rather than our right to have him amongst us. Do you not in agreement? Do you remember this conversation we had? Thank you. It was only a couple of weeks ago. What I told them was, Guru Hamdro is someone who belongs to the universe because he speaks of righteousness. When he was relating his story as well as many of the things that he was talking about in the sermon, I took myself on that journey and I walked back, took a nice stroll down memory lane as I reminded myself who I used to be. When he started talking about the ego and how we try to identify ourselves by the things we do and who we have become, our educational qualifications, and how we like to identify ourselves with our brands, the things we wear on our shoes, the things we wear on our heads, the things we wear on our wrists, and so on. And how we like to identify ourselves by the professions and our careers and so on. It took me back many, many years. And then I remember how fortunate I had been to have seen the light. A light at the end of what seemed like a very long, never-ending tunnel. Just like you, ladies and gentlemen, I and all of the other monks here, and I think Guru Hamdro will say this of himself as well, because whenever I praise him, he always says, Guru Hamdro, not Guru Hamdro, Buddhu Hamdro. He always reminds me. He said, this is what the Buddha has gifted us. But then the thing is this, until I met him, I didn't know who the Buddha was. So in my life, my Buddha Hamdro is my Guru Hamdro. Had it not been for him, I would have not known who the Buddha was. To me, he would have just been a historical figure. Someone about whom I would have read in books of history. And perhaps even learned as a good Buddhist. But then what does it mean to be Buddhist is something I learned when he started to speak to me. And when his words started to resonate. And it reached the deep corners of my mind and reverberated throughout my entire existence. I began to feel what Buddha Hamdro really was. It's not just the figure that you see on my left-hand side. That's just a statue that is there. Over here is merely a symbol of righteousness. This is the symbol of the truth. Whether you have it on the altar and you offer flowers at his feet, or you offer a Buddha Puja and Pirika, or you go to the temple and offer flowers and light joss sticks and do whatever you do, or perhaps you go to Kandy and you venerate and you worship the sacred truth. None of that measures up in comparison with actually seeing, understanding, and comprehending who the Buddha and what the Buddha really was. So that is a gift my teacher gave me. Today is a celebration of that. You have always come up to me at the end of sermons and you have expressed your joy as you come and worship the Swami Mahansa, and you offer your pirikara, and you're always going on about, oh, Swami Mahansa, you're the one who said, you did this to me, you did this to me, and my life has changed beyond my wildest imaginations. Remember? And what do I always tell you? If this is Mona Lisa, then you should wait to see Da Vinci. We are so fortunate, ladies and gentlemen, to be in the association and walk amongst great men. I have no words to describe that. It is only thanks to my own understanding, helped and supported by my teachers and my fellow monks, that I can manage myself from becoming emotional when I talk about this. Those days I used to get very emotional. I recall about 5 years ago, I was walking the Arame. Guru was walking ahead of me. And we were talking about our lay lives and how things have changed so much. And then that, again, did exactly what it did to me today. It took me back many years. Actually, back then it was a couple of years. And I was thinking to myself how I used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go to work and get on the train and that long commute. And then spending those long hours in what seemed like something that I was working up a career and building up a future and hopeful that one day I would be able to live the good life. But always being the donkey that was walking behind the carrot, but never really knowing that that was what the case was. This was about 5 years ago, and I couldn't contain myself. I was overwhelmed just by the sheer joy that overtook me. And I could feel my eyes welling up. I have never shared this story, but Guru will remember on that day I fell on my knees. I hugged his feet, and I was in tears for about the next 15 to 20 minutes. I didn't feel time passing by. I couldn't express the joy in words, the transformation that had happened within me, and what my teacher had actually given me. He had given me bliss and happiness served on a plate, and I could eat as much as I like. You know, as we were sitting down, taking alms, and we were offering pirikara, I was observing how some of you were taking pictures very fondly, and I'm sure you will probably go back home and look at those pictures, maybe share them amongst your friends and family and so on. And then I was thinking to myself, I couldn't help but think to myself, oh, why bother if you just came to the monastery? Do you see me taking selfies with Guru Maharaj? I don't have to. I don't need to. It's usually the first sight I have when I wake up in the morning and step outside my kuti. It's like God descending from heaven and then saying to me, behold the sight of the teacher that has given you bliss and Nibbana. I have never been this happy in my entire life that I can remember, and I can be certain never in samsara have I been this happy. I don't need to express my happiness with a smile, just like Guru Maharaj mentioned towards the end of his sermon. That happiness is written all over me. It's in every cell of my body. It's in the blood that runs through my veins, ladies and gentlemen. This is just an advertisement of that to entice you. Because without a smile on my face, how would you know what I'm going through and how I'm feeling? That's why we carry a smile on our faces. To show you that this smile is yours for the taking. He mentioned many times in his sermon how meritorious you are. Have you heard the saying, knock and the door shall open to you? I think you have all knocked. I just want you to think about whether it is the right door. Just make sure you are knocking on the right door. Make sure you are knocking on heaven's door. If you have all come from the source, then your destiny is also at the source. We're only here for a certain period of time. I don't mean just this human existence. We have all come from the source, ladies and gentlemen. All these differences that you see are mere manifestations of the way we think. That is why you look different to the person sat next to you. It is because of the way you think or the way you have thought. That's why you look different. That's why you dress different. That's why you wear your hair different. All of these differences are merely thought-driven. They were preceded by thought. Thought was your precursor. And that is why you look and think and walk and talk differently. But if you take out all those differences, we're all the same. Do you remember he asked a question right at the beginning of his sermon? What religion are you? He asked you, are you a Buddhist? Are you a Christian? Are you a Hindu? And then he said, I loved what he said next. Are there any humans here? If we're all Buddhists and Muslims and Hindus and Christians, where are the humans that I have come to talk to? Was the question that he asked. And just after he finished his sermon, Guru Maharaj asked me, have I spoiled it? Have I spoiled it for you? That was the first question he asked me. I keep convincing him, no, Guru Maharaj, no. If they like me, then they like you 100 times over. Because it is the tree that deserves credit for the sweetness of the fruit. A fruit cannot become sweet on its own. It's the tree that deserves credit for it. It's the tree that takes nutrients from the soil and energy from the sun and packs it into the fruit. And then when you take a bite of it, it tastes succulent. But it's the tree that does that. Without the tree, the energy of the sun, the vibrance of the sun, and all the nutrients of the soil would never become the fruit, would it? It's the tree that deserves credit for that. And behind Guru Maharaj, you can see many other fruits, all grown on the same tree. Listen to any one of them, and you will realize that the apples have not fallen far from the tree. They all taste the same. Your merits are ripe. I want you to knock on the right door, ladies and gentlemen. You have knocked on the door of wealth, and so you are wealthy today. You knocked on the door of education, and so you are educated today. You knocked on the door of prosperity, and therefore you are prosperous today. You knocked on the door of health, and you are healthy today. You knocked on the door of good family, and you have a good family today. Think about it. Don't you have a loving wife? A loving husband? Mother and father who dotes on you? Children who care about you? These are all blessings. But blessings only come to those who have merits. If you don't have merits, then blessings can do nada. There's nothing. That's why he reminded you, blessed are those who are pure in heart. You are pure in heart. In other words, you are meritorious. So, just as I remind you on the other days, and as Guru Maharaj has reminded you today, please make sure that as you are meritorious, you ensure you knock on the door of nobility, noble association. Knock on the door of heaven, and the gates shall open to you. Because you are pure in heart, you will see God. And God represents the truth. Once you understand that truth, you will land in heaven, and heaven represents Nibbana. So whether you look at it through the lens, whether you look at the Bible, or you look at the Bhagavad Gita, or you look at the Holy Quran, or you look at the Tripitaka, or you just look around you and observe life, which is all the same thing, you will realize these truths are everywhere. You just need to be heedful. I don't intend to speak for long, because like I said, it's all downhill from this morning. There's nothing I could do to one better my teacher. I try to get into his shoes once in a while and walk in those shoes, but many a time I just stumble and fall. And then I say, no, Guru, I can't do this. And he says, up, up. If you can't do it, then who can? He asks me. Just as he asks all 500 of us. We are now an army. A very humble army. Silently, but steadily, we are waging war. This is a war for the truth. This is a war to awaken the Buddha that's asleep within his innocent hearts and minds. Do you recall he said in the sermon, the Buddha is within you? And then he said, the Mara is also within you. So all you have to do to dispel Mara is to awaken the Buddha. And that can only be done with the truth. So today, you have all been very fortunate. I have to say, we have all been very fortunate to have him grace our community, this occasion. And today, not just the 3 months that you, or the 2 months that you will normally get, you have a team of 10 of us or 11 of us. The request initially from Dr. Aras was to have 100 of us. Am I right? Because he's a man who thinks big. He has a big vision. His vision is to energize, enlighten, and empower every child in this nation, in this great nation of ours. Energize the body, enlighten the mind, and empower one and all. Am I right, sir? That is his vision. That is the vision of Gateway College. So what we did was, we said, let's look after we'll look after the enlightened part. You do the energizing part and the empowering part. We'll look after the enlightening part. So we're here to enlighten the mind. And that's how we became Gateway to Nibbana. See? When great minds think alike. When great minds, a mind becomes great when it stops thinking about itself and commits itself to selfless service. But you cannot become selfless until you understand the truths that Guru Amar was talking about today. It is one thing to suppress the self, and it's another to eradicate it. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, we have been bestowed with this fantastic opportunity. We have all been very fortunate today to receive the Mahasangha into our school. You have come together today and you have brought along many of your friends and family, perhaps those who used to listen to us online, but today you knew that you were going to get a prettier face. And so you convinced them to come along. That is not just a pretty face. This is the voice that awakened me. I have no better gift to give you than the gift of my teacher. And as Guru Maharaj, the second thing Guru Maharaj told me at the end of almsgiving was that he was very proud of me. But he doesn't say that very often. I like to think that's because he just doesn't have the words to tell me how proud he is of me. But whether that is just my wishful thinking or not, today somehow, thanks to you, I earned that accolade. So he said, I'm very proud of you. So I asked him, why Guru Maharaj? He said, well, look at what we have all done here. What we have all been able to build here. This community. I think he was impressed. He started the sermon by saying he was thankful. That was his first few words. He said, I want to thank you. And he said he was very happy to see you all. The way that you greeted the Mahasangha, the way that you look after each other. And I was telling Guru Maharaj on the way here, Guru Maharaj, on some days, there are those who come, but they don't come prepared to offer any alms to the Swami Mahan says, but there are many who share what they have or sometimes even give up entirely. And I told him, Guru Maharaj, sometimes I have seen it from the corner of my eye and heard it, because we walk looking at the ground, so I don't really see what's going on. But I have heard it, you take it and offer it. I've heard such things. And I told that to him today. And lo and behold, that happened today as well. See, your actions spoke louder than my words, ladies and gentlemen. Your actions spoke louder than my words. So thanks to you, I have earned a crest to go on my lapel that says my teacher is proud of me. So as I always do, and I remind you, this is not a one-man band. This is not a one-man show. It is not one man doing any of this, because one man cannot do any of this. It is our unity. It is our camaraderie. It is our coming together in a shared purpose. It is the love, the loving kindness and the compassion that you share with one and all that convinced him that he should visit us today. He has another sermon when he gets back to the monastery today. And I was saying, no, you don't have to wait for all this, you can go. I mean, what has he got to learn from this? He's the one who taught me how to speak. So I told him, why don't you just wait for the Pirikara offering, because people will want to offer Pirikara to you, and then you can take your leave. He said, okay. But he's still here. So somehow you seem to have learned the trick. It's no trick. It's no magic. It's no wonder. It's what you have achieved together. You have earned tremendous merits today, ladies and gentlemen. All of it. It's not something you have every day. And all the decoration and all the preparation that you have done today for the sermon, the alms offering, the pirikara, all wrapped beautifully, as you always do. And most of all, for bringing your friends and your family here today, which is the greatest gift of all. Because the greatest gift is the gift of Dhamma. That is what we have given to each other today. We have too many to have in one hall today, so the college has been so supportive of this event. And they've booked several halls, and these talks were streamed. I think we had a total of around 450 people today. I only get about 200. So I'm still a long way from this. I have a long way to go. But that's fine. As long as I have a teacher who so compassionately walks in front of me and guides me, and tells me when I'm right, and also tells me more importantly when I'm wrong, and holds my hand when I need it, and catches me when I fall, and reminds me when I need it that he's there for me. Sometimes he says, if everything you do just collapses and it's a complete failure, don't worry about it, I'll take the blame. To have someone who says that alone is enough. Then I can spread my wings and fly, knowing that if I ever fall in mid-flight, he'll be there to catch me. So you have done all this, ladies and gentlemen. You have invited the Mahasangha to your home, to your workplace, to the school. This is our home for Sunday morning, our church, our temple, our mosque, whatever you like to call it. And you have earned tremendous merits. And then you offer the dane to the Mahasangha. So, and then you also did some meditation while the Swami Mahasas were here taking their meals. May all those merits that we have all collectively work together to generate, and not just today, but over the last 100 sermons from when it was started. I very fondly always remind you, when I walked in here for the first time with Dr. Alice and Mr. Anthony, he took me around and showed me the campus. And then he walked me into the main hall where we do our lectures, the sermons. And he said, is this enough? I said, Doctor, I expect no more than 10. This is too much. Give me a classroom. But as I heard Guru Maharaj say, when he came up and spoke to him, you saw that this would become a reality. That's what Guru Maharaj told him. And I was listening to him. He said, you saw that this would become this one day. That's why you opened your school to us. And you invited us. And you embraced this opportunity and gave us the platform to take these sermons throughout the world. Today, there are people who listen to these sermons from across the globe, ladies and gentlemen. Some of these Swami Mahasays that you see here are the products of Gateway to Nibbana. So you should be proud of that. Some of these monks would never have heard the Dhamma had it not been for Gateway to Nibbana. Today we have monks from India, from Germany, and many others coming along the way. We have become a force to reckon with. Who's we? Who's this we that I refer to? Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, Upasika. The fourfold Sangha. So, by the power of all the ways that we have all acquired today and over the last 100 sermons collectively, may those who have upheld the noble virtues and propagated the Dhamma to this very day so that we are fortunate enough to listen to it, understand it, and comprehend it. Wherever they may be in these 31 realms of existence, may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana first and foremost. It is thanks to them, our forefathers, in the noble path, in the noble lineage, today we have this doctrine. And then, may our teachers of today, namely for me, that is my Gurudev, is the light, is the beacon of light that shines upon all of us. May our teacher, the great Guru Thero, attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. May the community of the Mahasangha throughout the world, not just at our monastery, because to us we see no difference there. If someone has gone forth in the hope of achieving their salvation, then they are all a part of this family. They're all part of this family. So may all members of this noble family, man or woman, adult or child, young or old, black or white, wherever they may be, may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. And finally, may by the power of all the ways we have all generated today, may we all abstain from the unmeritorious deeds. May we all fulfill the meritorious deeds. May we all practice the noble eightfold path. And may we all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all. Members of the Mahasangha will chant the Metta Shirvada as a blessing to all of you. As we chant it, I want you all to pass on these merits to your ancestors, your forefathers, your parents, living and gone, your teachers, anyone and everyone, members of your family, those who are by any extent responsible for your being here today. Let us spread these blessings throughout this school, throughout this town, throughout this neighborhood, throughout our nation, throughout this continent, throughout this world, and throughout the universe. And may all who are within the reach of the mercy of the Exalted One, may they all attain the supreme bliss of heaven.